Take on Tech, a weekly program that comes to you via KBC Channel 1. Take on Tech is a program that explores contemporary technological concepts and debates and brings you experts who in turn comment on the issues or break down the technological subjects in an untech way. The aim of the show is to allow ordinary audiences to engage and understand the relevance of technology and how it affects their day-to-day lives. There has been an issue of content online. Sometimes we feel like there's too much content online. Sometimes you see people coming up trying to establish channels online using various platforms that are available. Some people have started, but then somewhere on the way, they've given up because they think creation of content online has its own challenges. Now, in today's program, in today's Take on Tech, we're actually going to look into digital content creation. What is it? How can you create more digital content online? And then we are also going to be focusing on how women can actually engage in online digital content creation. To help us understand this topic, we have in the studio two ladies. Welcome, Rehab Gachango. Rehab is a content creator, a blogger, a writer, and she's also the editor of potentash.com. Welcome, Rehab.
Thank you.
Rehab will be joined by Mwende Ngao. Mwende is also a prolific digital content creator. Karibuni, ladies. We just go straight into trying to understand. Would you please define for us what online content creation is and how does it differ from the ordinary content creation? And I think, Mwende, you can start us off.
Well, it differs in, really it's more of the platforms that you're using, because obviously if you're creating content that is offline, then it's going to live on offline platforms. But online, it means that you're using the internet. So any content that is on internet platforms is what we would call online content. Then the way it differs is there are a lot of great advantages for online content, in the sense that, for example, when you create content offline, you have a very limited audience. So it could be that maybe you're doing content for a publication where people must buy that publication, or you're doing content for maybe if you're an artist, so you're performing to a certain audience. So at all times, the audience is quite limited, because offline, you can only talk to so many people at one point. But when it comes to online, you can literally have a global audience. So that is a very big advantage of the online platforms, that when you create content that is resting on online platforms, you have a bigger audience. You can really get a much bigger audience. Then, of course, also, because the content lives online, it means that it can live in perpetuity, like it can last and last forever. So it's not going to be the same as if I buy, say, a newspaper today, then I've read it, you're not going to find that same newspaper tomorrow still there. But if it's a story that is online, people can read it today, they can read it next week, they can read it next year, they can read it 10 years from now. So that content really lives on forever. And so I think those are some of the great differences that tend to favor online content creation.
Thanks, Mwende. That's actually it's good to know that when you create your online content, it's actually there in perpetuity, as opposed to when you create the traditional content that we know, for example, in a newspaper where people can actually, just dispose that newspaper and that content may not be available at another time.
Grace, I wanted to add something
to that, one of the things I love about online content is that it's very easy for it to be interactive. People are able to give you feedback in an easier way than when it's offline. Because, for instance, if you have a blog post, people can comment, they can tell you, I like this, I don't like this, which allows you to create better content and also to understand that, hey, this person likes my content, maybe I should do more of this. So that interaction, I feel, is what makes online content, makes it great, because you are not interacting, you are not creating space in sort of a vacuum. You see, like if you read the newspaper, it's very hard for the editor to know, unless they get letters to the editor. It's very hard for the editors and the journalists to know whether people like their stories or even video stories. But online, you get reactions, people react. And I think that's one of the great things about being able to be an online storyteller.
Correct. I think that's also an important point. I know before we got into online platforms, for example, we would be recording this program and we'd be, asking our viewers, write to us, let us know what you think of the program, and of course we know that there are very few people who write letters anymore, so that's a good point. Now I think Rehab, you can continue from here and tell us online content creation, what form does it take?
There are different forms that storytelling online takes, because as days go by, there are different platforms coming up. You can tell stories through blogs, which is basically text, but you can also do pictures. You can do photography, which is another form of capturing images and telling a story. There's also vlogs, which is people telling stories through video. Now there are a lot of podcasts. People like Mwende are podcasting and telling the stories of people through audio. And then there's also storytelling through social media. You may find that there are people who, like on Facebook, you have friends who tell you a whole story, a whole interesting story that you have to follow from beginning to end. So there are various platforms in which people tell stories. And the best thing is that depending on what you like, you can get to pick a platform that works for you. If you're good with words, you can do blogging. If you're good with, if you have one of those voices like Barry White, you can do podcasting. The world is open. I think social media and the various platforms give you very many ways in which you can tell your story. So you just need to pick something that suits you. If you're like me, you like telling stories through words, you can blog. If you're good with video, you can do vlogging. So by the way, the world is your oyster. You pick what works for you. And there are people who actually are good at everything. They're good at photography. They're good at audio. They're good at storytelling. Someone like Magunga, for instance, started out as a blogger. Now he's doing more video. He's doing more visual as well. He's become a great photographer. So basically, it's you who limits yourself in what you can do.
Both Rehab and Mwende, assume you are talking to people who do not understand what a podcast is, what a vlog is. Please just break it down, because you said this program is about breaking down some of the tech concepts so that people can understand. And especially when we talk about content creation, you've just told the viewer that they have an oyster, out there, and they're the only ones who limit themselves. So address those who want to start creating content online, and by just breaking down what's a podcast, what's a vlog.
Okay, so like what Rehab has said about just there being platforms that cater specifically to different kinds of creation, right? So a blog would be you're using words. So a blog is your own platform that you write on. So although even the way, like we have said, some people even use social media to kind of blog. So we'd call that a mini blog, like a small blog. So guys will write really long stories, really long posts on Facebook to tell you a story about something, or people who do the same thing even on Twitter. They write multiple tweets. So when you write multiple tweets and you're telling one particular story, it's called a thread. So the people who also use Twitter threads to tell a story, or you could actually just use a dedicated platform, which would be a blog, to tell stories. So then you can have your own personal blog if you are interested in writing, or you feel like that's just something that you're good at and you want to explore that option. If you like video, then you can do what we call a vlog. So a vlog is basically just like a blog, except a video. So you're telling your stories through regular posts. And most of the time, people tend to use YouTube for their vlogs. So we have a couple of popular Kenyan vloggers. Should I mention some? No, like the Jesus family, etc. Those are what are called vloggers. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, where you want to tell your story, and it could be about anything. It doesn't also have to be necessarily that you're talking about your life, because I know the most popular bloggers and bloggers are people who talk about their lives. You can also just pick a thing you're good at, like you're an expert in, or you want to tell people about. So maybe you want to tell people about fashion. Your fashion, you feel like you're good at fashion and you want to share that. Or you want to talk about, give people business tips or career tips. Want to talk about health and fitness. It could literally be about anything. And now you are just using either words on a blog or video for a blog to tell those stories. But if you feel more comfortable, I find like a podcast. So a podcast is basically now just audio. So instead of words or video, you're just focusing on the audio only. So you record yourself. You could literally record yourself even with your phone. If you have an okay phone, most actually mid-range phones can do a really good job with recording your audio. So you just record yourself in an episode talking about anything you want to talk about. So it's like the same concept. A blog is for written, a vlog is for video, and a podcast is for audio. So you can do all, like Rehab said, there are people who are doing all, because each platform has a different audience. You could actually find the people who are interested more in podcasts, others are more into blogs, others are more into blogs. So you could even have decide that you want to do the different platforms, but for different purposes. So you could have a blog where you spend, your blog is maybe creative writing. Then you have a vlog. Maybe your vlog, you are interested in travel and you want to show people the different places you travel. So you use your vlog for your travel stories. Then you have a podcast where you could now interview people who are maybe changing your community. Then that's what your podcast is dedicated to. So don't feel like you are stuck or you are confined. That's the beauty of creating online content. You can really just explore different angles and try different things with the different platforms. So yeah, for me, I'm just like, I find it can actually be very rewarding and a really great learning opportunity if you're interested in growing online. And I think a good place to start is to really just look at people who are already doing those things. And there's so many examples in Kenya, and then sort of see how you can also, what kind of tips you can pick up to start as well.
I think, we will, it's important to let people know that they can actually use their phone, that they don't need, say, a professional camera. They don't need a professional recorder to start generating some of this content.
Yeah.
And so maybe you'll just encourage our viewers, those who are interested, to start simple recordings using, their simple phones, and then look for online platforms where they can start putting that content there. Now, that takes us to the next question, the next concern, and Rehab. Are there strategies that people can, strategies that can be put into use to help people interested in generating online content? Are there strategies that are there for people? to generate that online content?
Yes, there are different strategies for people to create online content. I think the most important thing is I have a thing I called my three things that I say people should think about. Who are you creating content for? Because when you're creating content, you're not just creating content for yourself. Who's your audience? For example, in the rural areas, if you're doing a farming blog, for instance, maybe the farmers are your audience, or maybe you think that people in the city need to see how farming is done. So depending on who your audience is, whether it's by the way, both could be your audience. The audience could be the farmer in the rural area and the people in the city to see what it takes to do farming. So understanding your audience and what they need is one of the most important things, because that's what makes you decide on creating what to create in terms of content. Because now the second thing, which also ties with that, is the content. What content is basically, what are you creating? Is it a story through words, or is it a story through audio? And to do that, you need to be able to think. There's something called the 5W plus Y, which talks about who are you writing for? What is it about? What is the why? Why do people need to watch or listen or read your content? There's the how. How are you going to do it? Are you going to use your phone? Are you going to use a professional camera? There's all these things that you need to think about before you actually start creating content. And the third thing is, where are you going to tell this story? Are you good with Facebook? Some people feel intimidated to start a blog, but you could start with Facebook or WhatsApp. Do you know a lot of stories now are being told through WhatsApp? So you can actually take your video and share it on WhatsApp, or do a WhatsApp story, or do content and share it on WhatsApp, because that's where your majority of your content is. So just remember, you need to think about what is the content? Like, what content are you creating? Is it about fashion? Is it about business? Is it about agriculture? Is it about traditional culture? Like, I love culture and I attend a lot of cultural festivals. So I'm always interested to know what is the culture of these people? What are their traditional dances? So somebody who knows that people are interested in that can document people dancing, your culture's food, your culture's dances, your culture's traditions. And we are also finding a lot of that kind of content on TV now, but there's not enough people doing that online. So you can decide that this is the content you want to create. So just think about, who is your audience? What do they like? What are they looking for? How can you create that content? And then where can you put the content? Is it on Facebook? Is it on video? Is it on YouTube? Is it on podcasts? So those are some of the considerations and strategies that you can use. So before you put something up, take a step back and think, who is your audience? What are they looking for? And where can you find them?
Yeah, those actually are good points, and I hope the viewer who is watching and is interested in creating content is following keenly on that. Now, there's a lot of information. Sometimes we feel like there's a lot of information overload, or what they call information glut, and we really have not seen a lot of women generating that. So would you say it is important for women to also be online? And would you say that it's, what do you think about women and the need for them to create online content? Maybe Mwende, you can go to that.
Yeah, I think that the reality is that the global economy is becoming a digital economy. So just from that fact, we can't have half of the population not taking part in that economy, because there's clearly a lot of power from the digital economy, and also there's a lot of money, if we're being honest, in the digital economy. So we need women to also be part of that economy, because then you're leaving out some of the population from benefiting from something that the rest of the world is benefiting from. Then when you look at their content, even before we talk about Kenyan women or African women, when you look at the content generally from Africa on the internet, it's very, very little. We are not as present on the internet as other countries. So when you Google any information, a lot of that information, the generators of that information tend to not be African. So you find that if even you're looking for, say, content about the continent, it's very, very limited. So that shows already that as Africa, as Kenya, we have a lot of catching up to do when it comes to online content. Because if we're saying this is where people are also getting majority of their information today is through online platforms where people are Googling answers to questions, and we are not present because we don't have as much information online. It means that even the information that they're going to get about us, or even that we are going to get about ourselves online, is going to be very limiting. So we have a lot of work. I feel like it's the duty of content creators to really generate as much content as possible, so that Africa is visible online, because we really are not visible online when it comes to content. Then now, of course, if we're saying Africa is not visible online, you can now imagine when it comes to African women, where we are. Just a small search, like looking at Wikipedia. Wikipedia there's all this information about famous people or people who've done something worthwhile. But when you check African women, they're not profiled. There are very few African women that are profiled. And even just finding content on general African women, it's not there. Or things that African women would be interested in, it's not there. So for me, I feel like that content can only be generated mostly by us, African women and Kenyan women. So it's very important then to have more Kenyan women online, because we need those stories. We need to be visible. For me, it's really a matter of visibility, because the world is online. We can't be left behind. So I'm very passionate about getting as many Kenyan women online telling their stories and sharing even things about culture, things about just your thoughts, because this is where the world is. So we need to really be present and to be visible. So I think it's very, very important for Kenyan women to be online. And of course, because there's also money being made in this digital economy, it's also important for us to be here, because then we also want to be able to benefit from that digital economy.
Can I just add something? I feel that the online space has given more women a chance to tell their stories. For, like if you looked at the newspapers a long time ago, there was basically no space for, in a lot, especially in the news, there was not a lot about women's stories, but women's stories need to be told. There's a lot of information missing out there. There's a lot of stories that women need to, like, right now, if you go online, you can find a lot of women talking about the issues they've faced with, for instance, FGM, giving birth, things like endometriosis, issues, menstrual issues. There's a lot of issues of women that were not covered because there were not enough women storytellers. But having women online now, women are able to share their experiences and say what they have gone through. I wish that people like our mothers had access to social media, because they went through a lot. Being a modern woman, trying to merge, for instance, tradition and education has been a really tough thing, but women's stories are not told enough. So imagine if we had more online storytellers telling us this is where women have come from. These are the issues that women face. This is how more women can get into business. More women can get into farming. More women, this is how you can buy land and develop it. Imagine the women would progress more. Women are progressing, but a lot of them don't have the information they require because it's not in the mainstream media. And social media and these digital platforms gives women a chance to get more information to empower themselves, and also, very important, as Mwende said, enrich themselves. Yeah, women need to make their money.
Yeah.
Yes.
Completely agree on the need to have, especially African women, being visible online, the need for African women also to create content online. Now, Take on Tech takes a short break, and when we return, we will be looking to hear how can more African women start generating this content, online content. Welcome back to Take on Tech, a weekly program that comes to you on KBC Channel 1. And this is a program that breaks down technological concepts and debates into an untech way so that ordinary viewers can understand how technology affects their lives and how they can also participate and engage in technology. In today's program, we are looking at creation of content, of digital content, or what we call content online. And we have two ladies in the studio, Rehab Gachango and Mwende Ngao. Now, ladies, before we went on a break, we were speaking about the need to have more African content online, to have more African women creating that content online. Now, speak to this African woman sitting at home who has been thinking of how they can generate some content online. And like Rehab says, content that can also earn them some money. So how do these women start? Wendy?
Okay, I think I'll take that. So I'll just build on what you have said, because then once you have decided the kind of content you want to create and decided on the platform, now comes the hard part of actually creating the content. So I will be honest, it's not easy. It's not easy because I know people look at content creators and you see content, whether it's on Instagram or Facebook or a blog or YouTube, and you think, well, that looks so much like so much work. They're just recording video or they're just writing some words, but it's actually a lot of work. It's a job. So I would say go into it with the seriousness that it's probably going to require. So if you're able to do your foundation, what you have said about just thinking about the kind of content you want to create, and then settling on the platform or platforms that you want to create that content on, then now you have to ease into the creation of the content. So I would say start by also doing some research. So researching would mean it's okay to look at your favorite blogger or your favorite blogger or content creator and try and see the things that they do well and try and see if you can do those same things. In the beginning, that's fine because you're going to get better as you practice. So if you find someone who's like a model that you feel like this is now, I like the way this person makes their content and this is the kind of content I want to create, let me look at the positive things that I like about them and try and see if I can match up to that kind of content. Then as you keep creating, you're going to be able to find your own unique voice. Because at the end of the day, what's going to make your content stand out is you. And I know some people might think, well, there's nothing special about me. There is, because there's only one you. So that is what makes you special. So you'll be able to find your own unique voice as you create, because it's very difficult to find that voice before you start creating. You might think you have an idea, but you can only know when you start creating. When you start creating, for example, you start creating video. In the beginning, maybe you want to talk about, let's say, motherhood. So in the beginning, you might be looking at the motherhood bloggers or vloggers who you like and trying to sort of copy, you know. But then with time, you'll become yourself, and then the content, it will be very clear. It's a very organic process. So for me, I'd say it's better to just start and then hone your skill as you grow, because also your audience is going to be able to grow with you. So I know there's a lot of fear. People feel they're afraid, especially when you're talking about personal things. But I would just say that this is a content that we need, because personally, there are a lot of things I have learned from looking at what African women are doing online that I didn't know about. Like what Rehab was saying about, like, people, you think you're the only one suffering with an issue. Then when one woman starts talking about it, then other women join, and you realize it's a shared issue. So I think being a content creator requires some level of courage, and it also requires some level of consistency. So because you're going to start creating the content, in the beginning, you might have that, psych, you're like, I'm ready to be a content creator. Then after 2 weeks, you realize this is actually really hard to be consistent, because if I'm blogging and I said I'm going to put out maybe 1 blog post every week or 2 blog posts every week, or I'm doing a video and I said I'm going to do 1 video a week, or 1 video, even some people 1 video a month, and you still find it difficult to do the next time another video, So that consistency, you're going to have to really push yourself to get, because before you grow an audience, it's not going to be easy. You might post one and then you think this is a great blog post, and then you have only 1 person read. And that 1 person who read is your sister. So you feel disappointed, or we only have 1 view on YouTube, so you feel disappointed. But that's what I'm saying, you have to be ready to do the work, that it's fun and it's a great thing to do, but you really have to put in the work, because it might need a couple of months to even a couple of years to really, get to the point where I'm sure a lot of people want to get, which is why, if you're being honest, want to create content. Yes, there's the general of, you want to share yourself, you want to share your expertise, you want to grow, but there's also the part of you want to make money. So to make money, you have to have an audience. So to grow the audience is quite a bit of work. But if you're passionate about it and you are from the beginning, you are aware that it's going to take time, then you're definitely going to be successful.
Can I just add something, Gigi?
Yes, please.
I think for me, something Wende said, and this is the thing I always tell people: start. Don't get intimidated, because there are so many barriers that women and content creators in general face. You don't want to start because you don't think you're an expert, you don't think you have the right equipment, you're not sure who is going to read. But the thing is, start. For instance, let me give you how I started. I started by writing Facebook notes. I started out as a creative writer. I was writing short stories on Facebook, and then my friends would read, and somebody encouraged me to start a blog. And actually, when I look at the first things I did, oh my gosh, the way you look at memories on Facebook and you're like, your spelling was atrocious because you are trying, in those days when we started, I started on a feature phone. This is why I want to encourage you. I started on a feature phone, not even a laptop, a feature phone with internet. So I used to type everything on my phone, and then quickly, like, I put on the data, I send, and of course, with that kind of thing, there were spelling mistakes, but I started, and look where I am now. More than 10 years later, this is what I'm doing, and I'm making money out of it. Start. Don't worry that your phone is not the best. Don't worry that your grammar is not the best. If you want to tell a story, start. And as you get better, your grammar, your phone will, your lighting or your photography will get better. Most of the people who are now awesome content creators started, it was not even with the intention of creating money. People just wanted to put out content, and now they're making money. So the other thing that you need to remember, you need to have passion, because passion is the one that will take you far. Even when people are not watching or listening or reading your content, but you know, I really want to put out this content, it will take you to where you need to go. Even when there's no money, you're like, I'm doing this because I'm passionate about it. Start with that phone you have, that kabambe phone you have, that phone that doesn't have such a great camera. Start taking those videos. If you don't want to do skits, start taking those videos, start sharing them. Start. And eventually, 2-3 years from now, you will be amazed at how far you have gone. But you cannot be amazed at how far you have gone if you have not started. So start and keep the passion burning. And also, I think a very important thing is also learning to collaborate with other people. Because like for instance, Mwende and I collaborate to do things together. We collaborate with other content creators. Don't be afraid to say that you need help and you need to do content with other people. If you see some content creators, like some of the comedians, they actually work together. Like Kena, you see that he has a team. So content creation doesn't have to be a single person thing. It can be a team. Meet up with your, like if you're in college or school, you can do something with your friends to start. Some content creation is not only individual, it can be group, and you can do great things together. So think about collaborations as well.
Great points there, Rehab. When they talked about getting an audience is the challenge. Before I come to that, into how then you confront this challenge, because I think that's why so many people are discouraged when they try to create content, and then it's only one person who views or listens to their content. So we need to hear how this happens. But I think I want to just say, recently, I'm sure you saw that, like online, there are all these challenges, but I think there was the Firirinda challenge that really made me think, because I saw ordinary people taking that song and coming up with their own renditions. Some have even done like readings in church, making the song look like a Bible reading. Others just dancing, including people who do not understand what the song is all about. And I think I even saw a few like white kids also dancing to it and doing their thing. I just got, amazed, because I was thinking, this is how you can actually start creating your own channel, or just looking into what content is there, but using your own creativity, start generating something. And now, so before we go into, I was going to ask you, Rehab, when you tell people to start, whether there are any platforms, that are more favorable for women. And then Mwende will come back to you to respond to the question of how do you deal with the challenge? How do you confront this challenge of creating your audiences online? So Rehab, are there platforms that are more favorable for women?
I feel that it depends on what kind of thing you're doing. I also have to mention, we will probably discuss this later, the do's and don'ts of using the internet. And about is cyberbullying. So whether you use whatever platforms you use, you may find that you are being cyberbullied. Cyberbullying is when somebody makes negative comments about you or something you have written. But generally, all contents, all platforms can be favorable. I feel it just depends on what you need. and where you feel your audience is. For me, I feel like WordPress, for instance, is a great place to start blogging because it's easy to understand, easy to use. YouTube as well is, okay, it's not easy to use at the beginning because you have to learn a bit about it, but it's fairly easy to use. Places like TikTok, actually a lot of people now are creating TikToks, including mothers and grandmothers. So I feel that as social media grows, there are platforms that it has become more easy for people to share their content. So it depends on what type of content you're trying to put up. But it depends on, one, what you're comfortable using, and two, where your audience is. Please always remember that there's where you are comfortable and there's also where your audience is. So you need to make, when you're thinking about that, you need to make a match with that, because some platforms are great, you're good at, and some platforms, believe me, you have to learn how to use them even if you're not comfortable.
Okay,
yes.
let me just interrupt, Mwende. I would like you to talk to that person who is out there in the village and only has a feature phone, or
Yes.
somebody who also is in the city but is not able to afford like what you called a moderate phone. I have in mind, like when I ride a bike and I'm going, say, to town, there are all these entertainers who get into the bus, and some of them are really, really creative, even as they sell their mende, their dawaya mende, and vaporub. They're really creative. And I have always, wondered or thought, if they were able to put some of this content online, it may just earn them something, because with that sort of, entertainment, I am sure they would get so many followers, just even in Kenya only. So speak to that person who has a feature phone.
I don't know whether Mwende has something to add first, especially because Mwende is really good at video and at podcasting. So I feel she'd have a unique take on this.
Okay, Mwende.
So I think for someone who has a feature phone, it's true that the platforms for you are probably going to be a bit on the limited side, but that does not mean it's impossible. I think if you're entertaining, the best platforms for you and where you really can create like really short content, short videos, the best platforms for you is the best platform actually is TikTok. I think for me, that's the platform I would advise someone who wants to get started online and wants to do video. If that's what you're trying to do, if you're trying to do video, then I would say the best platform to start with is TikTok, with a feature phone. Because also, I think platforms like YouTube and Instagram require so much more work when it comes to getting your content to be visible. And it's really not that your content is not good. Some of these platforms, unfortunately, have started having a lot of on the tech side, the algorithm. So the way that videos are seen on YouTube. So when you go to YouTube and you search, there's some videos that will come up first. So that method that they're using of you being able to access certain kinds of videos is not very great for certain content, because then they tend to they try to push specific types of content, and a lot of that content tends to be content that people have spent like the most in terms of production value. So if you're looking to really grow as a content creator who is using video and you don't want to spend a lot of money in terms of production value, I would say that TikTok is a great start. And you can even see like what Gracie was saying.
Yeah, well, I think there are privacy concerns, like people working.
Oh yeah, yes, there are privacy concerns. Definitely
about the privacy concerns on TikTok. So I don't know whether you still want to advocate on a platform that has privacy concerns when now we actually have a data protection law.
Yeah, so I would say that it's unfortunate that they do have privacy concerns, and I'm hoping that that is something that can be resolved. However, yeah, so now I was just talking about how you really need to look at, if you want to do the short videos, Unfortunately, right now, it's either Instagram or TikTok, because YouTube is great, but YouTube, you have to put in a bit more in terms of production. So if you want somewhere to start, you probably need to think about the platforms that support like short videos. So the Instagrams, even Facebook, if you already have a good Facebook and you're active on Facebook, Facebook also favors video. So if you do a lot of nice short videos, entertaining videos, or educative videos as well, because Facebook, actually a lot of people like Facebook because for education, especially for family, motherhood, such people who talk about such content are very popular on Facebook. So take advantage of the things that make it easier for you to create content, because then if you don't have the capacity from the beginning to be doing big production or production value, start where you can start. So even for me, when I started, I also started on Facebook. Then I grew from there. Because for me, I think if you concern yourself too much with, oh, I really want to be on a particular platform, but you don't have the capacity to start there, then you'll never start. It's better to just see, where can I start? Where it's easy for me to start? If I just have a phone, where can I use my phone and I start? So because once you start, you get the audience, then you start being able to even grow into other platforms, and your audience will follow you to those platforms as well.
Okay. Is that one way? Remember, I had said I would come back to you to tell us how then people can get audiences to follow their content.
Yeah.
I know you have alluded, but please take it from there.
Yeah. So there's no one size fits all. It's very experimental. So if you look at it as a fun journey, you will have fun. If you look at it as stressful, you'll be stressed. Because I think for me, it's better to start from a lighthearted point where this is going to take some time. So you don't stress yourself and say, oh, I only had one person viewing, I'm not doing anything. It's better to start with, okay, this is going to take some time. Now, let me experiment. So if I don't have any idea, but I know, for example, I want to do video. Okay, let me try and do a video on Facebook and see how it goes. Let me also try and do a video for TikTok and see how it goes. Let me do a video for Instagram and see how it goes. So you're experimenting. It's like putting out a product where you go and sell. You want to know who is going to buy it, who is interested in this product. So you put it in different platforms. Then when you see any feedback at all, say one place is where you got the most views, or one place is where you got some comments, you see, what did they say? Then you adjust accordingly. So for example, if you find I'm getting the most views on Facebook, then you say, okay, let me concentrate then on Facebook, because clearly that's where my audience is. But if you're getting more on another platform, you say, concentrate there. Then now from there, you can start now creating different kinds of content. Maybe I try, I know I want to talk about, say, career. Let me start with one where I talk about how to get a promotion, or another one about how to invest. Then I see which ones are my audience liking more. If my audience likes the one for invest, what does that mean? Let me focus more on the invest content. Then you keep doing that. You're basically just getting more information and using that information to create content that is growing an audience. Then the more you grow that audience, because you're creating content that they like, then now you can experiment even more and say, okay, so I've been doing investment. Let me see, investment is doing very well. Can I also add maybe something about entrepreneurship? Will they also be interested in that? Then you try. If they like it, great. Now I have two things, investment and entrepreneurship. So for me, I feel like if you look at it as a journey where you're trying different things and seeing the reaction and growing the different platforms and trying things on, like you're experimenting. So for me, if you look at it like that, where you're having fun, experimenting and trying new things, you're not closing yourself off. Then when you get good feedback, you really take that feedback and run with it to create more of that kind of content. Then you're going to grow the audience that loves your content. And it's going to be so much easier to even make your platform bigger and to move to other platforms. Because if you started on Facebook and those people love that content, you can take the same audience and go to YouTube and now create longer videos. Because now you tell them, hey, I have also a YouTube channel. Go to my YouTube to watch more videos about this kind of content that you already have said you like. then you're able to now grow multiple platforms. So for me, if you look at it as a journey, then it's going to work out.
Okay.
Can I add something?
Thanks, Mwende. Actually, we are almost coming to the end of the program. And Rehab, I want actually you to touch on the do's and don'ts as people create content, because we also don't want people to start getting into trouble or revealing too much data. So quickly just touch on the do's and don'ts in about 2 minutes.
Okay, some of the do's and don'ts of creating content is try to be as original as possible. It's great to see what other people are doing, but the reason why you're creating content is so that you can give your unique perspective to the same issue. We can all be talking about roads or corruption, but give your unique view. And second is that as you create content, please realize that your friends and family are your primary audience. So that should be the audience that you target first when you're doing your content. Tell them, please check out my content, ask for their views, ask for their comments. And this guys, because they're actually genuinely want you to succeed, will be able to give you tips to become a better content creator. And then do not take comments personally. If somebody tells you they don't like your content, don't get upset. Understand what they meant. Take it. If it's something you can change. If it's something you can't change, just let it go. And the other thing is learn. There's a lot of cyberbullying, especially of women online. And some of the things I would like to say is, if you find that you're being cyberbullied, one, block the people who are cyberbullying you. I think women are too gracious. You're trying to be nice to people who are being nasty to you. Block them, unfollow them, do what you can, because your mental health is very important. And sometimes allowing these people to keep commenting on your platforms can affect your mental health. So, and also take care of your passwords. Don't just let everybody know your passwords for your social media handles or whatever, because your social media handles can be hacked, and you can either lose your social media handles or somebody can put some bad content as well. And then the other thing, collaborate. I think that's one of the most important things I will say. Collaborate with other content creators. And finally, keep learning. This is a journey. I am still learning. One day is still learning. We're still growing. There are new social media platforms we didn't know about before. Some we are not good at, some we are perfect at, and some we are still trying to get there. Keep learning. If you keep learning, you will become a great content creator. Read, look at what other people are doing, and research. And that will make you an awesome content creator.
What a great way to end the program. Keep learning. Keep learning. Every day is a learning process. Secondly, your mental health is important. Do not allow haters on your platform or to discourage you. And I think the other important thing, be original in whatever you're doing. Even if you're using somebody else's content, what is the innovative way you have put out that content? And in terms of creating audiences, your friends and family are number one. So get that content out there. And like Rehab said, you can use WhatsApp. It's a great platform to communicate with family and friends. Just get them to give you that feedback. That brings us to the end of Take on Tech today. We were looking into digital content creation, and in the studio we had Mwende Ngao, who is a digital content creator, and we had Rehab Gachango, who actually is the editor of potentash.com and is also a content creator. Thank you so much, ladies, for the good information you have given us today. And until next week, when we have another program, please sanitize, wear a mask, and maintain social distance. Corona is still here with us. Goodbye.